to Penn State, SMU. This is such an interesting matchup to me for multitude of reasons. One being which I don't think SMU should have been in over Alabama, and you and I are going to argue about this till we're blue in the face, and it's over. They're in, so we don't have to beat a dead horse. But SMU obviously heading to Happy Valley from Dallas to play. We talked about the weather and these things, and obviously, these teams aren't playing a late December game in Happy Valley most of the time. So it's not that Penn State has such a huge advantage there, but it's definitely something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I do think this is the game that I think it makes the biggest impact on. Like, you even think about like Knoxville right now. Like, Knoxville's pretty cold.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, how much colder is
Yeah.
Ohio State than Knoxville? I mean, it is 20 degrees colder, but like, do you really feel a difference between 30 and 50 or 25 and 40?
Yeah.
Like at that point, it's just cold, right?
Right.
And so,
Right.
yeah, this is the game where I think it makes the biggest difference.
Yeah.
And, I think there's a misconception around SMU that they are just a finesse team. Like, I think SMU actually is pretty physical. They're pretty senior. They're pretty veteran. And I don't think they're just this, they're more finesse than Penn State, right? But they are physical, especially their defensive ends, their offensive line. They do a good job. And they're not just like a bunch of fast guys that can just, trying to run away from people. So,
but did they bring down the value of the ACC?
I mean, from a TV perspective, they certainly did.
Yeah.
They had less total views than a 2-10 team that we won't name in the ACC. But yeah, so and they made the playoff. But don't get me sidetracked. I do think that even though the misconception of them of being like a finesse team is there, I still think that Penn State is so much more physical. And though I do think those hard hits in cold weather hurt worse, right? Every time that you get slammed by a guy that's bigger than you, whether it's a tackle or the trenches or wherever, I think the weather in this one plays a bigger impact than anywhere else.
Have you seen what the weather report is for Saturday?
Like 22 degrees. Yeah, happy.
Snow, wind, rain.
No, not that I'm aware of. But like 27 degrees, wind, 13 miles an hour, so just kind of like average type wind, 20% precipitation, so nothing really crazy there either. So not like a maybe light flurries, 13-mile-an-hour winds, just pretty average again. It's not like crazy by any means, more than any other day. So yeah, but still, it's cold. Noon helps, like middle of the day, at least the sun's out if there's a little bit of hope for SMU. But yeah, the weather up there seems like a big advantage for Penn State. This is the only one where I think weather plays a factor.
So you mentioned, that SMU is not just a finesse team, that you think that they are a power team as well. But if you're looking at this Penn State SMU matchup, you've got to think in the trenches is a massive advantage for Penn State. And truly, that's kind of how the teams up there are built, right? Those just big boys in the trenches.
Yeah, I think Penn State has a top 5, 10 at worst defensive line in the country. Like, I think they might have 3 guys playing in the NFL on that, maybe all 4, at eventually. So yeah, I think their defensive line is the difference here. And I thought Clemson's defensive line really got after Kevin Jennings and the offense there for SMU. And I think Clemson's got a good defense. They're kind of boom or bust at times, but Penn State's D line is much better than Clemson's, as much as I think Clemson has a good D line. And so if I'm SMU, that's probably my biggest concern is can we protect, can we hold up that SMU has a really good running back in Brashard Smith. He's probably the best running back in the ACC. But if their offensive line can't open up holes, like it doesn't matter how good the running back is. Like, we've seen teams with good running backs go up against, and I'm not comparing them to this, but like Georgia and Bama and those good defensive lines and get just completely shut down.
Sure.
And so that's kind of my fear if I'm SMU in this is can we keep those insane edge rushers off of Kevin Jennings, our quarterback, and can we open up any holes? Rhett Lashlee is really creative. Like, he comes from that Malzahn tree of offense, and he's been really innovative with it.
On the Malzahn train now, huh?
I mean, that's just who he coached under. Like, I don't know what else to say. But I mean, so if he can be innovative enough and scheme guys open enough and do enough quick, I thought SMU was really successful with the quick passes against Clemson and got the ball out before those guys could get home. Then I think they can find some success moving the ball. But if not, if that defensive line just wrecks things, to me that's the biggest unit that could take this game over and just never really let SMU get out of first or second gear.
You've mentioned SMU's running game, but Penn State also has a duo of running backs who have been really, really good this season, Katron Allen and Nick Singleton. And, they're going to be looking to keep the ball on the ground, pound the rock. This is the identity of Penn State football, right?
Yeah, I think that and they're differing styles, right? Like, remember, I mean, Thunder and Lightning at Auburn, Ron Dane and Cadillac Williams came here to Tampa when they were a ton of fun. And then, oh man, who was it with McFadden there in Arkansas? Like, you've had some other duos like this.
That's going to kill me. That'll come to me.
But like that, and I'm not putting these two on any of those levels or whatever. Like, I don't care like how you rank any of those guys, but same idea. Like a big bruising back that's going to just run people over, and you're going to have a tough time breaking tackles. And then a guy who can, in Singleton, who can absolutely, be super dynamic and just take off at any moment if he slips through a hole. And I mean, that change of pace is really tough. Like, to be able to kind of have your mind ready and realize the personnel and, who's got the ball and what's going on, so that you kind of know how to attack it if you're SMU's defense. And so, yeah, I think that Penn State, and I think Drew Aller's been good. Their quarterback's been really good, and I think there were a lot of questions around him. But yeah, if I'm Penn State, I certainly want to run the ball as much as I can to kind of open things up.
Felix Jones.
Oh, yeah, from Arkansas. Yeah, you're right. Did you look it up? Did you cheat?
No, I didn't look it up.
Did somebody comment it?
No, I don't think so. Let me see.
Right, I was making sure you didn't cheat.
No, I don't think so. Listen, that was back in the era when Eric and Scott and all, my family members were playing, all right?
They were so much fun. And you remember they would always play every year. Dude, I'll tell you what realignment has messed up. Every year, it felt like it was LSU, Arkansas on rivalry weekend on like Friday. Oh my gosh, that was the best. Like, didn't have a dog in the fight, didn't care. I know Florida fans don't love LSU, but like, I didn't care. Just great football on both sides. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's screwed up, and we'll never get that back again. But anyway, all that said, I think SMU needs to start really fast here. When they played with a lead, and again, you can question their schedule and this, that, and the other. But the one thing I will say about SMU's schedule that I feel like is a little bit different from Indiana or Notre Dame's. And Indiana's a team that nobody really expected to be there. Nobody expected SMU to do this either, right. And so like you can talk about their schedule. Well, but you also look at like SMU was picked to be like 7th or 8th in the conference by the media preseason. And so you can say their schedule wasn't good, but like they're about on par with most of their schedule, and they beat them all. It's not like a Notre Dame team that has insane talent is playing down. It's
sure.
But when they've gotten a lead, they've been really good. And so I don't think Penn State is necessary. Now, they did score a lot. They probably played their best game against Oregon and came up just short. And so we'll see how that kind of impacts them going forward. But I don't think Penn State's built to like come back in a major way or score a bunch and come from behind. So if SMU was able to get a lead and have some success early, like take a 10-point lead, which I'm not projecting or predicting or anything like that, I think Penn State would actually struggle in this one, because then you do have to go pretty one-dimensional and throw the ball a lot. I like SMU's secondary a ton. And so if SMU could start quick, which they didn't against Clemson, they started terribly and they were down like 17 points early. They did fight back, and credit to them for all that. But the team that starts quick in this one, I think in cold weather, when you like to run the ball a lot, is probably, I'm not breaking any news there. Every team wants to start quick and get a lead. Right. But I think it's really important for SMU, because I don't know that they're going to be able to come back if they have to get one-dimensional too. So to me, this very much feels like if either team jumps out by 7 or 10 points early, it's certainly not over, but you have a big, big leg up. Thank you guys so much for watching a peek inside the SEC. We did a live show on Wednesday night where we predicted not only this game, but all of the college football playoff round 1 games. You can click the video on the screen right now to see that in its entirety. and see all of the predictions that we made. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed. We'll talk to you soon here on A Peek Inside SEC Football.